The point scoring is a travesty. The knee-jerk reaction to want to take a potential heinous crime that has multiple victims who could have life-altering scars, mentally, physically, that will never heal. There is also the other potential that Thomas Partey is innocent and these accusations are false, and he is now, after already having a bad experience over the last 3 years, is now about to be put through hell to prove his innocence. Now, I'm not making a stance in either direction because I don't know. I understand there are some that believe that you believe the victim wholeheartedly, no matter what happens. There are others that believe in innocent until proven guilty. And I do believe in a functioning society, both can coexist, where the alleged victim is treated with care, kindness, consideration, not being abused, and is listened to wholeheartedly, where the potential perpetrator is given due process, is treated fairly, rules are followed, and is given the opportunity to present their version of events. If we remove that, and I know it's an emotive subject, and I know that there are many women that have failed to get convictions against, in these circumstances. I know there are also men who have been accused and imprisoned for false allegations. And I know that there's two sides to this conversation. There is. But both sides of the due process need to take place here. That is a fair conversation to have and to be heard within the footballing community about such a huge, potent, devastating story. But the point scoring is horrendous. The point scoring, and we've seen it on so many occasions in the past 5, 6, 7 years. Whether it was Benjamin Mendy when he was at City, from the first day those allegations became public, from when he was charged, City dragged through the mud, their club mocked, their other players attacked, the manager attacked. When you actually go back and do your research again and just read a lot of the tweets and the points that were being made, there was rarely a moment about the alleged victims, safeguarding, the problems in society. It was all very much, let's get City. With the Mason Greenwood situation, of course, there was evidence and video footage, audio footage and pictures everybody saw. And there was video footage of a cut lip. And it was rightfully condemned. It was rightfully called out. Man United did the right thing in suspending Mason Greenwood. And even when Man United did things that I criticised and I disagreed with, it was still used as a point-scoring exercise. Nicknames created for Manchester United, almost a glee in the way fans of our rivals got to speak about our club because of something a player did. Man United fans, by and large, fought back when there was talk of him maybe coming back, and we pushed back against it and said we didn't want it. Now, that's not every Man United fan. Some people view the world differently, and this is the irony in it. If you want free speech, if you want freedom, then people get to have opinions that you don't like. But Man United, it was right that we were challenged. It was right that people stood up against bad decisions. But again, you could tell the difference between someone who genuinely has a concern and point scoring. And you're seeing exactly the same thing now. I saw a Spurs account within minutes of the news that Thomas Partey had been charged, post a snippet of Mikel Arteta praising Thomas Partey. Now, let's just break this down, because I know some of you are going to get triggered and I know some of you are going to get angry by what I'm about to say. I think Mikel Arteta, I think Arsenal fans, and I said this publicly on streams, I said it privately in our group chats. Yep, if he's played a game, scored a good goal, you can say it's a good goal because we're watching the football he's playing. And even people that despise Thomas Partey for what he was being accused of and what he was being investigated for, they were still watching those games. We were all watching those games. You wouldn't, you know, I think they all should have refrained from talking about the player personally. I would never have defended him with zero insight to what's going on. And I think the Arsenal Football Club should have done similarly. But, and there is a but here, this post was made and it was quoting what Arteta said. Then it says, absolutely vile club, rotten to the core. Now, 3 hours later, another tweet on that thread has come out from the same account that is essentially saying that if there is one thing to take from this, I hope the victims are recovering and get the justice they need, etc., etc. Why wasn't your first thought that? Why is that 3 hours later? In my personal opinion, that is because you've had a bit of stick. People have gone, that doesn't look great. It's because you're point scoring. Your first thought was, I can shit on Arsenal. The same way that rivals of Man United, when it was Greenwood, it wasn't about Greenwood. His girlfriend at the time, or girlfriend still now, mother of his child. It wasn't about the alleged victim, the families, the problems. It was, how can I get United? City in the same way. And by the way, every single fan base has a percentage of their club that are guilty of this. Man United fans went at City over Benjamin Mendy. City fans went at United. You know, Arsenal fans went at United. United fans are now going at Arsenal. And the thing is, none of our clubs here are innocent. Not in these particular incidents. There are fans of clubs. There are fans of clubs point scoring here, whose clubs covered up paedophilia for decades. Paedophilia. There are clubs here taking digs who had massive figures at their club who were racists that were defended by said club. The idea that my club is more moral than yours is crazy. I've said it about the ownership side of things. Oh, I don't want my owners coming from that part of the world. Yeah, but your owners invest in that part of the world to make their money to buy your club. So what are we doing here? There is always this kind of pseudo-moralistic stance that's taken. And I think if you're someone who consumes football, goes to games, makes content and makes money out of it, goes to the international tournaments in certain nations around the world, I just don't think you have any moral high ground to stand on to sort of point fingers and go, my lot would never do this, I would never do this, I'd never participate in that, I'm cleaner than clean. You're not. It's absolutely right if you are going to sort of take a stance on this and say it's right that he's been charged, due process, day in court, let's protect the victims, etc., etc. It's okay if you think that way. But it's the point scoring that I think is horrendous here on every single level. And then it's the misinformation that comes with it. There's all these massive posts going around that, oh, just remind everybody that, Everton immediately suspended Gylfi Sigurdsson. Well, this isn't strictly true. It was the FA that stepped in, because Gylfi Sigurdsson's allegation was related to children, which means the safeguarding process is of a different level. So they took it out of Everton's hands. Now, Everton may have done it anyway, but the FA stepped in and did it. With Manchester United, and we did the right thing by suspending Mason Greenwood. Would we have suspended him before he was charged if there was no pictures, no audio evidence or nothing like that? My guess is no. Manchester City didn't suspend Benjamin Mendy until the day he was charged. Now, there's many elements to this. And this is where legalities and morality cross over. And it annoys me that the club maybe can't do anything. But there are all sorts of perpetrations here around. And a lot of it is, forget a moment the contract. Forget the employment law. You've got to look at the real law. So when you're being investigated, the law states that you're entitled to privacy. The law states your name can't be released. The law also doesn't want you to, or doesn't want evidence to be leaked out into the public, because it can actually ruin the case. So things have to be kept quiet. The view potentially here is that Arsenal had to keep him they couldn't suspend him, because if you suspend him, you're essentially breaching the policy and it could impact the case. Now, I'm not defending that decision, but there is a legality element here that I'm not going to judge until I hear from experts, because it's important to understand that. Some will say he could have, just don't keep paying him, but don't play him. Yes, but that might still have, I know we all knew, by the way, and this is the thing, we all knew it was him. It was obvious. But it's the confirmation of it, and there are legal elements here that may not have been able to be breached. Now, some will say, Terry, that's a cop-out, they'll have a go at me. I understand. My personal view is I would have wanted my club to have suspended him. I've always said I think Arsenal should have suspended him. I've always felt that. And I said it before on other streams, I believe. I've always listened to the other side of the argument because I try to be fair and balanced. But what I'm seeing now in terms of this point scoring, legitimately, I've seen people that were ripping into Arsenal for not being serious a week ago for letting Partey leave, now saying, didn't I tell you they were a scumbag club? Didn't I tell you they were rotten? This proves it because they covered him up and protected it. And I'm sitting there going, hang on. So you're saying we all knew what Partey had done. You're all saying you knew it was a cover-up all along. But you're the same people that criticised Arsenal for not renewing his contract because you said they don't know how to run a football club. Well, why wasn't it at the top of your mind with your moral superiority? Why wasn't it at the top of your mind when the contract wasn't renewed? You would expect your reaction to be, look, they should have done it 3 years ago, but it's the right thing by Arsenal. Why would they want an X, Y, and Z at their club? But that wasn't the reaction. Now it's the reaction because, again, you can point score. And there's been a lot of people that have published some really good pieces on this, thoughtful, caring, open-minded. And I think for me, and as I've said already, I'll probably get a lot of stick for this, but I'm prepared to put my head above the parapet. There are a number of opinions that I agree with and disagree with that I think hold a place in the discourse, not just surrounding this particular incident, but I think these crimes and alleged crimes together, and conversations need to take place because innocent until proven guilty and due process must exist, but in both directions. And I stand on this. And it's so important. So very, very important. But at the same time, can we stop the point scoring? Can we stop seeing an opportunity? And I know some will say, Terry, you're only saying this because it's Arsenal. No, I said it with United. I said it with Mendy. I've said it with other situations. And the problem is, if we really start delving into it, none of us have this moral high ground as football fans to stand on. Whether it's what our owners have got up to and done, whether it's players from our past and our history, you know, there is so much that could be mud that could be thrown at all of us for one thing or another. And we all find when it's our own club a way of kind of wiggling out of it or pretending like it's not serious, but jump on it like a bitchy in heat when it's a rival. And for me, for such an emotional, horrible, nasty crime that is alleged to have been committed, point scoring here just feels nasty, cheap, and lazy. I've said all along, I hope that he is innocent. My rationale for that isn't about protecting Thomas Partey. It's I hope that nobody has suffered at the hands of Thomas Partey and that these alleged crimes did not get committed. I hope that they did not get committed because I would always wish that this never happens to any single woman, man, or child ever again. But due process must now be followed. Both, in my opinion, have to be given that. We cannot ask for lawlessness in this country or anywhere in the world. We'll see what happens. But for me, the point scoring, maybe it's as I'm getting older. Maybe, I don't know what it is. There's just something about it that's just infuriated me today. Stop the point scoring and maybe focus on the real issues here. Take care, people, and I'll see you all again soon.